guys, it's your boy Dark Sage back with another video, and tonight we finna be doing what if Deku was the god of calamity, part 1. But before we get into the video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, because it'll help a young dude out, but we won't talk about that. So let's get into the what if. So we start this what if off with Yato the god. And he's on his deathbed. And he says, "Goodbye, my friends." And he passes away. But when he dies, his spirit and all of his power goes into a newborn baby infant. This infant name is Izuku Midoriya. But just because I want to make this nigga life hard as fuck, he's accompanied by a little girl named Izumi Midoriya. And so Inko takes them home. And Hiyashi says, "Oh, look at our children. They're so beautiful." And this is when Izuku, damn, I almost caught this nigga Yato, or Deku, he makes a knife fly towards his hand. And he catches the knife and puts it towards his father's throat. And his father can feel an immense presence, like a demon or some shit. And he backs away. And this would cause Hiyashi to fucking divorce Inko and leave, because that nigga was shook after what he seen. He was shook. And so we're gonna have a time skip to about 3 years old, and Deku is being beaten by his mother and Izumi because Inko knows it's Deku's fault that Hiyashi left. So every day since he was 2 years old, she's been beating him for it. And Izumi sometimes joins in because she generally just doesn't like Deku. And Deku's personality in this one is going to be, he's going to be calm. But when somebody fucking with him, he gonna try to kill them, no matter the cost. He doesn't care. He's going to try to kill them, unless it's insignificant for him. So yeah. But this nigga's power is finna be OP. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. This nigga power finna be OP. But yeah. So Deku is being beaten. And he's thinking to himself, "I'm really letting 2 hoes beat me up. This is astounding." Because this nigga has never been beaten up like this badly. Because he's near death. He might even die. He doesn't even know. And while they're beating him, Inko is screaming, "Die, you fucking demon! Die! You're the reason he left. You're the reason he left." And she beating the shit out of Deku with belts, brooms, sticks, extension cords, fucking knives. And this is what she says: "It's over. I'm gonna kill you." And she pull out a gun. I don't know where she got it, so don't ask. She pulls out a gun. And she pulls the trigger. And this is when time stops completely. And Deku has a sword in his hand. And he has multiple choices in front of him. One says water. One says fire. One says ice. one says lava, one says darkness, one says light, and one says the power of calamity. But the power of calamity is locked. And so Deku tries to choose the power of calamity. Because he's book smart. Because, I mean, he ain't got shit else to do. But, he knows what calamity means. And, you know, he goes for that one. Because, low-key, he wasn't fucking around. But, it doesn't work. And time unfreezes. And they continue beating the shit out of Deku. And so, this goes on for about an hour. And then Deku is basically on the ground dying. And he can barely breathe. He's like, What what did I do to deserve this fate? And this is enraging him. Because as I said, this nigga is trying to kill them at all costs, no matter what. Unless it's an inconvenience to him. So he knows he can't kill them yet. Not until it's time. And so Deku gets up and he limps to his room. And he goes in the bathroom and runs the water. And he goes into the bathtub and goes to sleep in the water. Now this is when the light in the bathroom goes off. And you see a shock of electricity. And Izumi says, Mom's right about you. So I'm gonna kill you myself. And she puts in fucking something made of electricity in the water. And this damn near kills this nigga. If it wasn't for Yato's fucking spirit and soul in this nigga, he'd be dead. But, he's electrocuted. And this nigga sees once again, time stops. He sees everything stop. And he has choices. But this time, he has an extra choice. And it says electricity. And Deku's like, wait, what? That wasn't here before. And then he thinks to himself, I guess if I'm exposed to an element, a new element, I'll get that element. So, let's see. I've never really chosen one, so let's see what they do. And he chooses electricity, and the sword pops up in his hand. And this sword is made of pure electricity. And Deku looks at it and he says, please, lend me your power. And when time unfreezes, Deku puts the sword in the water. And all the electricity goes into the sword. And he stabs the sword straight through Izumi's shoulder. And remember, this nigga is 3 years old and a calamity god. Like, do it sound like this nigga? Never mind. But, yeah. So he basically murked Izumi, but she's not dead. Because, like, she's important to the story. So, he stabs Izumi through the shoulder, and she screams. And Inko comes in, and fuck. My bad. My dad called me. But, Inko comes in, and she attacks Deku. And Deku not having this shit. So, he's slicing and dicing. You know, the usual. And he cuts Inko 20 times. And he aimed for the non-vital points because, like, you know, he can't have her dying. And so once he does this, Deku passes out because he doesn't know how to fight. He just had this in his mind all of a sudden. And so when Deku wakes up, he's in front of a little girl about his age. Yeah, sorry. But Deku wakes up in his mindscape and he sees a little girl. And this little girl, she has white hair and has the exact same sword in her hand. And she looked like this. And 3-year-old Deku, the little nigga got game. He started blushing and he's like, who are you? And she says, well, I'm Yuki. What's your name? And he says, my name is Izuku, or you can just call me Deku. And she says, well, alright, nice to meet you, Izuku. And so, she explains who she is, and she says, well, I'm your sword. As you can see, I have the exact same sword as you. And he says, wow, you're really my sword? And she says, of course I am. And in about 4 to 5 years, I'll be able to manifest a real body. And Deku looks at her and he's like, Nani? And she's like, yeah, I'll be living with you and everything. And this makes Deku blush because, it's a 3-year-old Deku because, my nigga Mac, he pulling females. But, he blushes and she smiles because, like, they're gonna end up dating. I'm saying it right now. They're gonna end up dating. And so she says, well, now the only thing you have to do is form a code. And Deku says, a code? For what? So that you can use my sword, silly. And he says, well, I like your name, so why don't I just say that? And she says, okay, my name it is. And so Deku is in his mindscape practicing with Yuki on his swordsmanship. Damn, I had trouble saying that. He's practicing with Yuki on his swordsmanship. And on the outside, they're all knocked out. Because, like, this nigga Deku really fucked up both of them. He doesn't give a fuck about life, about them, about anything. And so when Deku wakes up, she sees that Izumi and Inko are gone. And Deku's like, where? Where could they have gone? And Izumi's like, I feel nothing in the house. There's no presence. And Izuku says, so they left me. And Yuki says, sounds right to me. And so Deku leaves and he finds an orphanage. And he goes in and the kids are looking at him like he crazy. And the owners of the orphanage say, what's your name, kid? Why are you here? And Deku says, well, my mom left me, so I'm here now. And all the kids are looking at this nigga like he crazy, because, like, this is the worst orphanage ever. The kids get beaten, and yeah, well, you're gonna see how it plays out. So, Deku meets up with a couple of the other kids, and he likes one of them. It's a boy named, we're gonna call him Yujiro. And so he meets up with the boy named Yujiro, and they low-key kind of kicking it. They become best friends in a year. So Deku has spent a year in the orphanage, and nobody has adopted him. Not yet, of course. And so the day comes where Yujiro basically gets adopted. And Deku starts crying, and he's like, Yujiro, why are you leaving? Please, don't leave. And Yujiro said, I wish I could stay, but like, I'm getting adopted. And Deku puts on this broken smile and says, well, have fun. And he walks away. We're gonna time skip a week. And Yuki is dropped, well, not Yuki. Yujiro is dropped off on the porch of the orphanage, dead. And the owners of the orphanage find him. His head is broke, well, his neck is broken. His head is busted wide open, and half of his body is cut. And there's a note engraved onto his body. The note says, Deku. And this isn't like any normal rage for Deku. This throws him over the top. No more calmness, no more nothing. He doesn't care if it benefits him or not. You mess with him, you're dying. He does not care. And so Deku goes wild. And he summons Yuki. And he says, come on. We're gonna go find the bastard who did this and kill him. And so Deku basically, using Yuki, goes out and he finds the people that adopted Yujiro. And they look at Deku and they say, we were expecting you to come here, kid. And Deku don't waste no time. He says, Yuki, lava style, now! And Yuki's like, yes, sir. And her blade turns into lava, or their blade turns into lava. And he rushes at the killers and decapitates them both. And he picks up their heads and he walks back to the orphanage and drops their heads on the table. And he says, from now on, do background checks on anybody that tries to adopt one of us. Because if another one of us is killed, I swear on my life, I won't stop until every last human being on this earth is dead. And this sends a shiver down the orphanage owner's fucking spine, because Deku just threatened the fucking entire world. And so the orphanage owner is like, oh, okay, kid. Okay, I'm sorry. And Deku walks off. Now here, we're going to have a time skip. Deku is in middle school. And he really keeps to himself. And him and Yuki are dating now. And Yuki has her physical body. Deku walks into the middle school on his 4th day. Because this is when Yuki developed her physical body. All the kids look at Deku and they say, hey Deku, who's that pretty little girl? And he says, leave her alone. And the boys run up to her and push Deku out of the way. And they try grabbing Yuki, and Deku says, well then, I warned you. And he says, Yuki. And Yuki says, right. And she goes to Deku's hand. And Deku says, electricity. And he shocks all of them. And they all fall to their knees. And Deku says, "Oh, and by the way, my name isn't Deku. You can call me Yato, the god of calamity." And this is where I'm gonna leave it off. So, bye. Shit.